Hello everybody and welcome to Avian Specialty Ink's presentation Facebook Live on Libra Silicone Inks, which is a part of our Zodiac line. We'll start with the mixing. Here I am just weighing out the container and make sure that I have a good weight on my scale. You mix the color just like you would any conventional ink with base and pigments. But then when you're ready to activate, you weigh out your ink and you figure out 3%. This will be the amount of catalyst you will add to the Libra ink. All silicone inks need a catalyst to cure completely and to gel. So here is a nice clear liquid, very watery. As we add, we be very careful, try to be as close as 3% as possible. It's okay to go a little bit over, it doesn't really hurt the ink, but if you get too much, it can cause trouble with your stability on press. You want to make sure that you stir completely, bring in all the sides in, fold the catalyst into the ink itself, and then stir around. You want to get to kind of a creamy consistency to make it easier to print on press. And then of course you catalyze all the other colors, including the white. Once you're ready to go to press, you set up just like any other conventional screen print ink. Get your line up and start printing. Here we already printed the white, gold. We're flashing pretty hot for about 6 seconds to start, and then you back it off as you run. As the palettes get warm, you can back it off to like 4 seconds and possibly back off the heat as well. I think a lot of folks will be quite surprised on how easy this runs, how reminiscent of a regular plastisol ink it is on press. You do have to flash every color, so I tell folks to kind of think of this as a non-wet on wet athletic ink that you do have to flash, so treat it the same way. Libra excels on athletic goods with polyester or nylon fibers. Again, we're keeping the flash units a little high initially, but then we'll turn it down later. You can see you can get some pretty intricate detail. It doesn't have to be athletic, but if you're going on a 100% polyester garment or a nylon or heavy poly blend, it's an excellent ink to use. On this particular job, we're running on 100% poly, very smooth, and curing it at 265 degrees for 1 minute. This is enough to kick it over and cure completely on very sensitive garments. So a great choice again for jobs that maybe you're a little bit afraid to run. Very hot oven. Great color, very smooth, very easy to wear. Here we're doing some tri-blends. We're actually ironing down the fibers with an iron before we get started. Make it nice and smooth. It's difficult to iron the ink itself like we do in plastisol because the silicone cures so completely right away that the iron really doesn't affect its surface. There you see we printed white with very little pressure. We're flashing, obviously, cool. Anytime you can use multiple spaces, it really helps this ink. So the blue is flashed. Nice complete color. And very true color with the IMS software. The Libra can deliver very bright colors, very solid, opaque. You don't have to worry about anything being too weak or fading over time. Just a tip, we like to do a little flash before we pull it off the machine so it's easy to handle, but it's not completely necessary. But once it's on the garment and through the oven, it's a very stable and very durable ink. Here we are demonstrating how it can stretch and pop right back. It's got great memory. And as you'll see, it will respond to any high stretch fabric very well. Once it's on, it's permanent. Very nice. Here we have 100% poly stretch material. We're able to pop it. and it's 100% back. So any garment that needs a lot of stretch, like yoga pants or very tight undergarments, it's a very nice ink to use. Get your logo on. And once the palettes are warm and you're able to lower things, speed things up, very high production too. Here we can run this all day long without any problems with the ink changing. As long as you're flooding well, it's going to run well. The colors stay true. They're not shifting on press. They're not shifting in the oven. Everything's well controlled. You'll have a well controlled and great consistent print. Very smooth. You'll find this ink runs with very little pressure. We use a 135S for the white, a 160s for the colors, and then a 230 for the final white. For the bleed blocker, we used a 160, and it protected from dye migration very well on this particular garment. If the garments you're printing are a little bit more aggressive on the dye, you may choose to go with a lower mesh with the dye blocker, or using multiple layers. Here's a detail of the tri-blend and how the fibers can be ironed down. You get a great cure, great look. Nice and smooth, subtle, stretchy, and durable. The ink itself runs very well for a long time. Just keep an eye on any kind of changes in the ink. That's usually an indication of way too much heat or maybe too much catalyst. Just kind of keep up with what you're doing and document everything you do when you're running a press. Just like any other screen printing facility and ink, you want to monitor and make sure that everything is running smoothly. On this particular print, we cured at 270 because we wanted to make sure that everything was cured throughout the shirt. Sometimes cotton holds a little bit more moisture in it and it may take a little bit longer, a little more heat to cure. But it itself came out with a very nice, comfortable look, feel. You can put these on multiple fabrics. Probably should stay away from cotton, as it's very difficult to get it nice and smooth. But there are some techniques that we can show you. Here is a 100% poly, very smooth fabric. We don't have to iron this one, of course, and it comes out with a nearly perfect surface. Of course, this color did not need a bleed blocker underneath. On the dye sublimation garments, you need the bleed blocker. And sometimes the garment comes out with a little bit of bleed through, but wait an hour and it completely goes away. Cleanup is really easy. Just go with your procedure you usually do with plastisol or water-based. You card out the ink, put it in a container. Comes off nice and smooth, very creamy. Card out the screen, and you wash the screen as if it was a plastisol ink. Same chemicals, everything. Once you're finished, like to seal the containers completely and mark the date, the time, any other information you can on when you took it out of the screen. You can store this and use it again over the next day or so. It is also very important to mark what's in the bucket, the base, the color, and how much catalyst you used. Here's that sub-dyed. Here's a regular polyester. And again, this is also polyester, what we just printed. Nice bright colors. And you can see the great versatility of this ink without having to worry about the dye. Thank you for joining us today, and call back with any questions or call your local Zodiac distributor for help.